Starting off this countdown, we have the wedding. This story broke my heart. So this is a photo taken of Heather Mosher on her wedding day. She was battling a very deadly case of breast cancer. Sadly, she passed away 18 hours after getting married. So on December 23rd, 2016, Heather was diagnosed with breast cancer. That night, her partner David proposed to her. He said he wouldn't let her go through this alone. 5 days later, they learned her diagnosis was a triple negative. In September of 2017, the cancer had spread, so the two quickly made wedding arrangements. On December 22nd of 2017, the two were married, and just look at how happy Heather is. Again, 18 hours later, she lost her battle with cancer. In our ninth spot, we have the drowning. On November 11th, 2017, fans of the Filipino TV star and dancer Franco Hernandez were heartbroken when they heard the news of his passing. On that day, he was out with his girlfriend and some friends on a small boat. This photo was taken that day just before a wave hit their boat, knocking everyone overboard into the water. Sadly, Franco drowned. The people operating the boat did manage to pull him and his girlfriend back onto the boat, but by that time he was already unconscious. He was immediately brought to a clinic but was declared dead on arrival. This is so sad because everyone was out enjoying their day, having fun. Little did they know what was going to happen. Moving on to number 8, we have the day the music died. February 3rd, 1959 is also referred to as the day the music died, because on that day, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson died in a plane crash. The three had been on tour together. That day, they boarded the plane and were headed out to the next stop on their tour, but the three men and their pilot never made it. Now the thing is, the trio had been taking a tour bus for the first half of the tour, but they said it was unreliable and freezing cold, so being fed up, they decided to take a charter plane. Had they continued on with the tour bus, they would have made it there alive. This photo was taken of the three artists right before they hopped on the plane. It's the last photo of them. Apparently, the pilot was unaware of a weather advisory that had been issued before takeoff. A short while after liftoff, the plane ran into troubles and crashed. Apparently, the scene of the crash was very gruesome. The three artists had been thrown from the plane in the crash. The pilot was trapped inside of the cockpit. Coming in at number 7, we have the cliff jumping. Several years ago, Naval Air crewman Shannon Nunez decided to take a celebratory jump at a popular cliff jumping spot in Hawaii. She was celebrating her recent qualifications as a Naval Air crewman. Jumping off this cliff was quite common in the area, but it's also very dangerous. The cliff is roughly 80 feet high. She took this photo before her jump. Little did she know what was going to happen. When she jumped, she ended up landing sideways. She then started to panic and drowned. Her two friends that were with her tried to save her, but it was far too late. She was so excited for this jump. She was so proud of herself and her accomplishments. It's just sad that it had to end this way for her. Coming in at number 6, we have the falling rock. This photo features a group of individuals who went out hiking. Little did they know what was going to happen a few moments later. Literally minutes after this photo was taken, a rock above fell and hit the man on the far right in the red shirt. It crushed him completely. He was dead upon impact. All his friends witnessed this happen to him, and that must have been traumatizing. Like, it was such a freak accident. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Burning Man Festival. The Burning Man Arts and Music Festival is an annual festival that takes place in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada. Tens of thousands of people gather from all over the world for it. Its main attraction is this big effigy that is then lit on fire. Well, during the festival in 2017, a man named Aaron Joel Mitchell ran right into the burning structure. He was burnt alive. To this day, his family does not know why he did this. He was not depressed, nor was he having thoughts of taking his own life. On top of that, a toxicology report showed that he did not have any alcohol or drugs in his system. But Aaron decided to dodge security and then run straight into the flames. Firefighters tried to stop him, but they were unsuccessful. When they did retrieve his body, it was far too late. This is the last photo ever taken of him. It's the moment he took his own life by running straight into the flames. In our 4th spot today, we have the birthday murder. On December 17th, 2017, 21-year-old Ismael Gutierrez and his friends went out for dinner to celebrate his 21st birthday. This photo was taken at his birthday celebration. Gutierrez is the young man holding the bottle. Later that night at around 3 a.m. he had been shot along with a random female. The group had been at the wrong place at the wrong time. Gutierrez and the woman were both taken to the hospital, but sadly he did not make it. And the fact that this happened on his birthday when he just wanted to have a good time makes it 10 times sadder. In our third spot, we have the cabin fire. A couple of years ago, Bethany and her friends decided to go to a cottage. They spent the day out on the lake and then had a nice barbecue dinner. This photo was taken of Bethany out enjoying her time at the cabin. Sadly, 6 hours after this photo was taken, Bethany lost her life. An ember from the grill sparked a fire on the cabin deck. Soon, the whole cabin went up in flames. All the friends were able to escape except for Bethany and a dog. This is why you hug your friends and family extra tight. It's sad, but you never know when their last day will be. In our second spot, we have Cameron Boyce. On July 6, 2019, Disney fans were shocked when they heard that the talented child actor Cameron Boyce had passed away in his sleep. He was taken from us way too soon. He was only 20 when he passed, and he had a bright future ahead of him. Now, Cameron passed away in his sleep due to a seizure which was brought on from an ongoing medical condition for which he was being treated for. Still, no one saw this coming. This photo was one of the last photos ever taken of Cameron. A beautiful photo of a beautiful soul. And in our number one spot today, we have the armed robbery. On September 21st, 2009, Angela Escobar and Alex Santiago were sleeping peacefully when an armed robber entered their home and shot them both dead. The robber proceeded to grab some personal belongings before fleeing the scene of the crime. This is the last photo of Angelina. What a beautiful and innocent soul, taken far too soon. Eventually though, the killer was caught. His name is Christopher Doring. He was caught after taking a phone call in jail. On the recorded call, he admitted to shooting both Angelina and Alex, and then said, and I quote, "I have no sympathy at all, I can do that again. That don't bother me. That just makes me sick to my stomach. Rest in peace, Angelina and Alex." Starting off this countdown, we have the missing GoPro.
Incredibly, the card inside the camera wasn't destroyed, and he was able to recover several videos. He soon learned the images were the final moments of a young man lost far too soon.
In 2019, diver Rich Aloha was out scuba diving in a Tennessee lake on the search for lost treasure. During this dive, he came across a GoPro camera, which he thought was a little cool find. Little did he know that this find would change the lives of one family forever. The GoPro belonged to a man named Richard Ragland. Back in 2017, he was swimming with some friends at the same lake when he slipped and fell underwater and drowned. The GoPro contained his final moments from that day.
The video shows 22-year-old Richard Ragland enjoying a day outdoors. Here he is flying through the air on a zip line. And here he is splashing around with friends at a waterfall 2 hours outside Nashville. He's having a great time.
Sadly, the day ended in tragedy. Family just assumed that the GoPro was lost forever, but when it was found 2 years later, it actually helped them heal. Now they can see how happy his final moments were. Moving on at number 9, we have the falls. Just recently, a man named Roy George was out at Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. He was there with a friend. He was at the top of the cliff posing for photos when he accidentally slipped and fell over the cliff and into the falls. This was the last photo taken of him, moments before he fell. Apparently, he was taking photos in the spot known as the danger zone. He got too close to the edge and fell. Tourists heard his friend's screams and rushed to the scene, but by the time park officials got there, Roy was long gone. In our 8th spot, we have the brain aneurysm. This photo was taken on a woman's wedding. It shows all her friends heading to the venue. This is the last photo taken of the man on the left, the bride's best friend. Sometime during their wedding reception, the man had gotten into an Uber and gone home. He didn't say to anyone that he was feeling off or anything, but he suffered from a brain aneurysm, and a couple hours later he was declared brain dead. The poor bride, on one of her happiest days, lost her best friend. She found out after the reception was over. She said that she spent her honeymoon mourning over his death. Like, that is so scary and tragic. Moving on, number 7, we have the vacation. This photo was taken by Dave Halley. It was of his wife and daughter aboard the plane headed off to their dream vacation. Sadly, they would never make it. 3 hours after that photo was taken, a missile shot down the plane as it flew over eastern Ukraine. There were no survivors. This just breaks my heart. Like, they woke up early, all excited for their vacation. Little did they know the horrors that were gonna unfold. In our 6th spot, we have the Rhode Island Station nightclub fire. On the evening of February 20th, 2003, a fire broke out at a nightclub. More than 100 people were engulfed in the flames, including one of the guitarists playing that night. 230 people were injured. This photo was taken before the fire broke out. The fire was caused by one of the pyrotechnics, and you can see it in the background of this photo, along with some of the people that passed away that night. Now, this fire spread very fast. Within seconds, the room was filled with smoke and people were panicking, trying to get out. However, this resulted in a human pileup at the exit, and that's why so many people lost their lives that night. Such a tragic accident. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the fatal photo. On July 2nd, 2013, combat photographer Hilda Clayton died while taking photos during a National Army fire training exercise. Unfortunately, a mortar tube accidentally exploded, killing Hilda and 4 National Army soldiers. Hilda managed to capture the blast that killed her. This photo hits deep. No one knew what was gonna happen. She literally captured the thing that killed her and the soldiers. It's so scary. Moving on to number 4, we have the last dive. This mother shared the last photo that she took of her son on Reddit. He was swimming in their pool when she captured this photo of him. 5 minutes after that photo was taken, he died due to shallow water blackout. Now, I think this topic needs to be talked about more because I'm a strong swimmer and I've never heard of this until now. Basically, shallow water blackout causes you to faint underwater. It can happen if you hyperventilate before diving or swimming, or if you hold your breath for too long underwater. And it can happen to anyone, even advanced swimmers. Sadly, it happened to this poor kid. Moving on, at number 3, we have the dangerous selfie. Too many people in this series have lost their lives by trying to take selfies, including this next man. So back in 2016, a businessman named Jia Lijun went to a wildlife park alone, and he was super excited to be there. But while taking photos with a walrus, it ended up grabbing him and dragging him into the water. As a result, he drowned. So apparently, moments before this happened, Jia sent a bunch of selfies that he took with the walrus to his friends. Then, out of nowhere, while he had his back to the animal, it grabbed him and playfully dragged him into the water. So it wasn't like the walrus meant to kill him. A zookeeper rushed in to save Jia, but was sadly also grabbed and dragged underwater. They both died. In our second spot, we have SEAWORLD. So the first time I heard about this case was through the Netflix documentary called BLACKFISH. Seriously, a super good documentary I highly recommend, but also pretty scarring. So on February 24th, 2010, an orca named Tilly for short, grabbed its SeaWorld trainer, Dawn Brancho, by her ponytail and dragged her into the pool. She tried to escape his grip, but when she did, Tilly slammed into her and then grabbed her and shook her violently underwater by her arm. When medics did get to her, part of her arm was already off and in Tilly's mouth. She sadly passed away. Now, before this happened, Dawn had a full show with Tilly. After the show, she fed him and poured some water on his face. She then sat close to him, talking to him and stroking him. They called this relationship session. A family videotaping managed to get Dawn's last few moments on film. And in our number 1 spot, we have the volcano eruption. On December 9th, 2019, Stephanie Browitt and her sister Crystal and her dad Paul were on White Island when the volcano erupted. This photo was taken 6 minutes before the eruption. The 3 of them were on a tour, and it wasn't until they arrived on the island that they found out that the volcano alert level was at 2, which is the highest level it could be before an eruption. But they were on tour with their sea crews, so it wasn't like they could have just left the island. Well, as they were walking back to the boat, they saw ash coming out of the volcano. That's when their guide told them to run. Unfortunately, Crystal and Paul and 21 others died as a result of the eruption. Stephanie survived, but about 70% of her body were covered with 3rd-degree burns. She also lost parts of her fingers. Starting off this countdown, we had the helicopter crash. In 2019, 32-year-old Benno Anthony Penna and his wife, Megan Michelle Hawk Penna, went out for a helicopter ride in Utah. Their plan was to fly to South Valley Region Airport in West Jordan. Their ETA was 2 p.m. When the pair failed to arrive, helicopters were sent out looking for them. Shortly before 6:30 p.m. that day, their helicopter was found. Sadly, they had crashed. This photo was posted just a few minutes before the deadly crash. Look how happy the pair look. Little did they know what was soon to happen. Now, authorities don't know for sure what happened, but it was reported that there was some heavy weather in the area that day. So maybe that's what played a role in the crash. It's It's a very tragic story. In our 9th spot, we have Grace MILLANE. Grace MILLANE was a 22-year-old woman from Wickford. In 2018, Grace arrived in New Zealand as part of a backpacking trip. From there, she was using Tinder to meet people. That's when she matched with Jesse Kempson. The two met up on December 1st, and there's a lot of surveillance footage captured of them on this date. From their initial meeting, you can see Grace hug Jesse, and then they walk off together, and then that's them on their date. And then lastly, you see Grace heading up to her date's hotel room. Sadly, these are the last videos of her. She died by manual strangulation on December 2nd during intercourse. He then disposed of her body. It's just a terribly tragic case. In our 8th spot, we have MEKAYLA BALI. Much like some other teens listed on here, MEKAYLA BALI's last video is CCTV footage caught of her. MEKAYLA BALI disappeared in 2016 and has never been seen or heard from since. On the day of her disappearance, she was seen by surveillance videos entering school at 8:08 and then leaving at 8:26 a.m. Then she left and was captured at Tim Hortons at 9 a.m. There, she was using the Wi-Fi to send messages to someone. At some point, she texted a friend asking for help, but then replied with, "Never mind, I figured it out." At noon, she returned back to her school, and at 12:03, she left school again. That was the last time anyone has ever seen her. It's thought that she was kidnapped by someone she met on Snapchat or another social media platform. Imagine being her parents though, watching this last video of their daughter. It just breaks my heart. Moving on, we have the Westminster attack. On March 22nd, 2017, a terrorist attack took place outside the Palace of Westminster in London. A man named Khalid Masood drove his car into nearby pedestrians, injuring more than 50 people and taking the lives of 4. One of the people he took the life of was Kurt Cochran. Him and his wife Melissa were out for a walk. They were there to celebrate 25 years of marriage. CCTV footage captured the final moments of Kurt. Sadly, Kurt passed away after getting hit by the car. However, he pushed his wife out of the way to safety. It literally breaks my heart watching this footage. The two were celebrating their 25th anniversary and it just ended in heartbreak. Moving on to number 6, we have ELISA Lam. If you're a true crime junkie like me, then chances are you have already heard of this case and have seen the disturbing video associated with it. So on January 26, 2013, 21-year-old Canadian ELISA Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel. She was traveling by herself, journaling about her travels along the way. On January 31st, that was the last time she had been seen alive. And this was all captured on tape. Her final moments show her acting quite strange. She's talking to herself, moving her hands randomly, pressing random elevator buttons, opening and closing the elevator doors, and just peering around the elevator. There was no one else there with her. A few days later, hotel guests reported the water in the hotel rooms running black, and that the tap water tasted disgusting. On February 19th, ELISA's body was found rotting and bare in the water tank on the hotel's roof. Her death was labeled as accidental drowning, but everyone believes otherwise. Some say that she was playing the elevator game and was being possessed by something evil. Others believe it had something to do with her bipolar disorder. It was found that she had not taken her antipsychotic recently. And then you have people who think that she was murdered. It's just quite strange for her to end up in the water tank. In order for her to do that, she would have had to gone to the 15th floor, taken a staircase up to the roof, and then turned off the rooftop alarm. From there, she would have had to climb on the platform where the hotel's water tanks were, and then to get into the water tank and close the lid behind her. How did she do this undetected? Especially since the roof has an alarm system and was locked. Either way, the death of ELISA is quite strange, and the last video of her is quite disturbing. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the revenge killing. On August 27th, 2018, Raneem Uda and her mother Kaola Salim lost their lives to a man named Janbaz Tareen. Raneem was seeing him until she found out that he had 3 kids and a wife, and his wife was pregnant with another kid. So she left him. But Tareen began to follow her around and threaten her. At one point, he slept outside her place for 12 nights in a row. He said that if she were to leave him, then he was going to kill her and her family. On the night of August 27th, Raneem and her mom were out at a local shisha bar. That's when Tareen showed up. He was threatening her and her mom and was making a huge scene. This led to them being kicked out. Those were their final moments caught on tape. Later, Tareen followed them home and took their lives. In our fourth spot, we have KENNEKA Jenkins. This is another case that will give you the chills. So on September 8th in 2017, KENNEKA and her friends were at a party in room 926 in the Crown Plaza Chicago O'Hare Hotel. Later on, the next day early in the morning, KENNEKA was caught on CCTV footage wandering around the hotel by herself. Clearly, she was intoxicated. She wandered around for several hours until she made her way inside the hotel's kitchen area. On September 10th, she was found dead inside the walk-in freezer. Now, from CCTV footage, we see her enter the kitchen, but there were no cameras pointing at the freezer, so unfortunately we don't know if that's the case. Her parents believe that she was murdered and then placed in the freezer. However, the CCTV footage is the last video we have of KENNEKA. Moving on, number 3, we have Kendrick Johnson.
Of our exclusive investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson, specifically what school surveillance video can tell us about how he died and what's missing from it again.
This case is another one that will keep you up at night. It's also another case that is highly debated about. On January 11th, 2013, Kendrick Johnson's body was found inside a rolled up mat in his school's gym. Police deemed his death accidental. Apparently he used to store his shoes in the mat so that he didn't have to pay for a locker. It was thought that he had to crawl into the mat to retrieve his shoes, but he got stuck upside down and passed away. But a lot of the evidence didn't really make sense, like how his gym shoes were found on the ground below him, but it was lying on top of a pool of his blood. There was no blood on the shoe itself, and a lot of key pieces of evidence were just kind of discarded. Anyways, on his final day, we see Johnson walking down his school's hallway into his gym.
Of the surveillance video from the old gym to investigators.
There is a whole of time where none of the cameras provide any record that I've been provided.
That video, along with a short clip of Johnson in the gym, are the last videos ever taken of him. His parents are still out there fighting for his justice. They are prepared to do whatever it takes to find out what really happened to their son. Coming in at number 2, we have the final report. On August 26, 2015, news reporter Allison Parker and Adam Ward were killed during a live interview. Allison was interviewing a woman named Vicky Gardner when the killer snuck up on them and shot all 3 of them. This deed was carried out by a man named Vester Lee Flanagan, also known as Bryce Williams, who was also a reporter at the same station as Allison and Adam. But in 2013, he was fired, and it said that he blamed the pair for this. The shooting occurred at 6:46 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can hear the gunshots, see the ladies' terrified reactions, and then the cameraman falls to the ground with the camera. From there, we can see Flanagan walk by. While this was all happening, Flanagan was recording it on his own device, in which we see their final moments from his perspective. It's absolutely terrifying. In our number 1 spot, we have the car crash. On April 12, 2015, 2 friends were recording themselves going for a joyride while on drugs. In the footage, you can see them speeding along the road just fooling around. But the video ends with them crashing into a church wall and dying immediately. It's a very disturbing video, but both of the boys' parents agreed to release the footage as like a PSA to never drive under the influence and to always drive safely. It's just so disturbing how the 2 young men literally filmed their end.